Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kieran and I help people using a spiritual perspective, or something like that. Anyway, one of the questions that I frequently get, and by frequently I of course mean never, is how long does a spiritual awakening last? How long is this process? Is it just gonna be forever? Is there like a nice little period where it wraps up with a little bow tie and then everything's peaceful and you get enlightened and you move to a mountaintop or Florida and you start your own yoga business and wear really deep v-necks and cool shit like that, and you have a cat named Steven? I don't know, doesn't matter. How long does it last, right? That's the question. And something that I would wonder a long time myself when I was younger and thinner and just happier. Oh, so sad. Anyway, moving on. When I was younger, starting this kind of journey, it was something that I would focus on. When will it all make sense, right? I think that's what people are kind of wondering, is when does it get to a point where everything really finally just clicks and you kind of understand your life and your purpose and yourself, right? And the answer is, of course, never. It never ends. And then one day you die. Is that a happy thing? Is that what you wanted to hear? Probably not, but it doesn't end. It doesn't end. The people that we look up to, the most spiritual people you can think of. I don't know, who Eckhart Tolle, is that who you want to think? Buddha, Dalai Lama, somebody like that, some master, somebody on YouTube or something like that. Does it ever get to that point? Do you ever become that kind of person? I would say no. I would say rarely, because those people are very far removed from society and they don't really live in society. They kind of have their own thing going on, right? I'm sure you can find enlightenment and peace and become a very, very different type of spiritual being if you isolate yourself from society and go to a mountain range somewhere in Southeast Asia or wherever. And yeah, go find enlightenment like that and don't actually have to deal with things in the way that an average citizen might have to deal with it, going grocery shopping, for example. Try being enlightened going grocery shopping, or on a subway when it breaks down and it's 40 plus degrees Celsius outside, and you're just hot and sticky, and then two people start arguing with each other. It's very hard to act like that all the time when you're actually living in a society. So when does it really end for all of us? For the normal versions of these spiritual people, when does it end, right? It doesn't end. Your life just keeps going. Things keep happening. You might even keep responding the same way as you always have, but you have an awareness of things, and so your life becomes more difficult. Things become more severe. You become more sensitive. As time goes on, you become more sensitive. You're opened up. A whole new world is opened up to you, and it's just scary. At the beginning, it's very fun. I think there's a naivety around it, and it's just kind of exciting, and you learn a lot and all this information, but eventually reality does hit you a couple years later. And it does happen in stages. There's certainly ups, there's certainly downs, and there's new levels of awareness, and there's things that you integrate, and you just get kind of versions of yourself reflected back at you, and you kind of figure out your trauma, but things don't stop. Things don't really just end. The awakening keeps happening. The spiritual insights, they keep happening, and things change. Your opinions change. Spirituality changes. It's just like anything. One year you think something, and then the next you don't. It doesn't matter if it's about politics, food, or spirituality. Things just change, and you yourself changes. But the only thing that's consistent is the awareness, right? It doesn't tend to go away. Once you start this whole kind of journey, you can't really go back. So you have to just keep going along the journey. There's no end. There's no like magical enlightenment that happens and then you become one with God or whatever you want to call it, and then just have everything figured out. Even the people that I would consider people that I would look up to, or gurus to some degree, the way that they talk about their own life, being much older than I am, it is not sort of dissimilar to what I'm sharing with you, right? They might even, of course, they might be more emotionally balanced than I am, or more a little bit wiser in the way that they handle things. I'm certainly very impatient still to this day, stubborn still as well. But they don't describe any sort of magical thing happening to them and then just becoming some sort of stoic, magical sort of sage-like person, because they live in a reality, they live in a real place where they have to do real things, um, raising children, whatever, things that require responsibilities and stress. Like, that stuff doesn't go away. So if you are starting this spiritual journey and you think that, in 3 or 4 years, you're just going to have everything figured out, which is exactly what I thought when I started, I'm here to tell you, as a future version of yourself, don't think that, because it's not true. You are going to keep going through things. At times they will get worse. You'll feel shitty. You'll feel isolated. You'll feel alone. You'll feel tons of pain. And the only thing you can do is just keep going, is just keep persisting. And knowing that it's never going to end actually should relieve quite a lot of stress, because if you think there's an ending or an expectation that it all just magically wraps itself up in a perfect little way, then everything that isn't that will just kind of wear you down. And the longer the time goes on, the more that you'll just feel like you're never going to get anything. But if there is no end, you can relax a little bit and you can enjoy your life. You can kind of experience what's meant to be experienced, rather than relying on some vision of what you think your spiritual awakening or your spirituality, the way that your life should be and the way that it should go. If you remove those expectations and those kinds of fantasies and images for yourself, things get a lot easier.